Now, a fairway wood can be the club that golfers struggle to get on with the most, but when you find one you like, it really does become an asset in your bag that you can use on an awful lot of different shots. So it pays to do your research in order to find the best one for your game. And in this video, I'm going to be testing 13 of the latest and greatest fairway wood models to hopefully give you a really good understanding about what they're all about and which one might be best for you. I've tested them at Foresight Sports HQ using the GCQuad launch monitor and Titleist Pro X golf balls before taking them here on the golf course at Burghley Park Golf Club in Stamford, hitting them from different lies, different shots to, as I said, create a clear picture about what each fairway wood is about and which one might be best for you. I'm going to break this video down into a few different categories and talk about where certain models excel over others. And make sure you watch to the end because I will be giving you my verdict on the best fairway wood you can buy in 2021. So without further ado, let's begin the video starting with the looks. So in terms of the looks of these fairway woods, I'd say that you could easily split them into 3 different camps. So the larger heads, the compact smaller heads, and then some that are kind of in between. And I would say I'm definitely leaning towards ones that are slightly smaller at address. I like to see a relatively squished profile, don't like it to be too long from front to back. I like a nice shallow face as well, which is why I'd lean towards those smaller models like the Callaway Epic Speed, the TaylorMade Sim 2 Ti, the Titleist models, both the TSI 3 and TSI 2, both surprisingly nice and compact down behind the ball, and the Ping G425 LST. So those are models that I really like the look of down behind the ball. But if you want something that's really a lot larger, going to inspire much more confidence, maybe you struggle with your ball striking, and you use them a bit more off the tee than you do the fairway, those Max models, so like the Ping G425 Max, looks really, really large behind the ball. The Sim 2 Max as well, the Callaway Epic Max has a really nice rounded profile, which some people will enjoy. I'm not a huge fan of that. Along with the Mizuno, that's got quite a large rounded profile as well as the Cobra. So, you know, lots of different looks as you can see at address. You know, there's some distinctive features across a couple of the models. So both the TaylorMade models have got that really nice white strip at the front, which definitely helps with alignment. You've got the 3-dot system on the Ping models, which I have to say definitely improves on replacing what the turbulators offered, but doesn't really do much for me still. And then you've got the clean classic look of the others like the Titleist, the Callaways and the Mizunos, and even the Cobra with some flashes of that neon green at the back does really catch your eye without being too overpowering. But if I had to pick my favourite looking fairway wood of 2021, it would be the TaylorMade Sim 2 Ti. It's got that squish look, but it's got that white strip down behind the ball. It's got white grooves, which help me also set the face nice and square. So in terms of looks, that one would be my favourite. In terms of the feel and sound, I'm going to sit on the fence slightly here and say that actually all of the fairway woods that I've tested felt really, really good. They feel really, really powerful, really solid. I don't think there's a great deal of differentiation between the 13 that are on test, but there were some standout kind of trends and performances across certain models. So if you're looking for something really loud and quite tinny, the Ping models definitely offer that. Definitely one of the loudest models on test. We've seen it with the drivers, and I've definitely seen it in the fairway woods as well. If you're looking for something a little bit more dense, a bit more quieter, more of a thud to it, I'd say TaylorMade Sim 2 models offer that, especially that Sim 2 Ti model. This feels especially hot off the face. And these 3 that I've got here, the Sim 2 Ti, the Callaway Epic Speed and the Srixon ZX, are the 3 that I think stood out in terms of being most driver-like in the way they feel at impact. So really, really powerful, really hot. Quite a dense feel to it, but very, very explosive off the face. So the Callaway Epic Speed, maybe a little bit more metallic and high pitch, but still really, really powerful. And the Srixon ZX was a surprise package for me. This felt absolutely fantastic, out of the middle, but really, really hot. Something I wasn't necessarily expecting, although I know I've seen it from the drivers that they feel really, really good as well, and the fairway woods were just as good. So definitely these are the models, the 3 that kind of stood out in terms of that driver-like feel and sound. If you want something that's really, really ultra powerful, these are the ones to go for. So now let's take a look at the performance that we got testing these fairway woods on the GCQuad launch monitor indoors using Titleist Pro X golf balls. I'll flash the data up on the screen now. You can hit pause and have a look at your favorite model, maybe the one you're most interested in, how it compares with the others. But I'm just going to call out some key points of data in terms of how models really excelled in certain areas. So you'll notice, you know, the fastest average ball speed on average was the Titleist TSI 2. It also had the highest average club head speed, which will definitely contribute to that. The longest shot hit on test was with the TaylorMade Sim 2 Max of 249 yards. The longest average carry was with the Cobra Radspeed, average carry of 243 yards, followed very closely by the Callaway Epic Speed and both the Titleist TSI2 and TSI3. Interestingly, they both did it in very different ways, because the Titleist TSI3 was the lowest spinning fairway wood on test. It did have a slightly firmer shaft in it than the others though, that might contribute to that. The best smash factor, so that conversion of club head speed into ball speed and really as a guide of efficiency, was with the Ping G425 LST. And the highest launching fairway wood was the Sim 2 Ti, and the highest ball flight was with the TaylorMade Sim 2 Max. So those two TaylorMade models clearly really are getting the ball up in the air very easily off the deck. The testing that we did here on the GCQuad and out on the course was all off the deck. And that was slightly higher than Mizuno in terms of that peak height. The straightest clubs on test were the Honma TR21 Big LB Ti model and the Callaway Epic Max. And the highest spinning model on test was the Wilson Staff D9. You'll notice that really hurt it in terms of distance, average carry of 235 yards, which made it the shortest model on test. But there is only 8 yards of difference on average. Strike plays a big part, my effort levels, all sorts of things play a big part in terms of those distances from the test. So 8 yards isn't a great deal of difference, and I think basically it kind of just goes to show that no one really makes a bad club anymore. All these fairway woods performed pretty well, but there were some others that excelled in certain areas over others, and hopefully the data that we popped up on the screen there really gives you a clear picture as to what the performance of each of them is all about. Now, we could all do with a bit more forgiveness on our fairway wood shots, and there were a few models on test that really stood out in this regard. I've got them here in front of me. Unsurprisingly, it's those Max models that really offer the most amount of stability and consistency on those off-centre hits. So the TaylorMade Sim 2 Max and the Callaway Epic Max really stood out in terms of that off-centre forgiveness. Another model that really impressed me was the Honma TR21 Big LB. So this is the slightly larger TR21 fairway wood. It's got a nice heavy fixed back weight here at the back, and this wasn't really the kind of off-centre forgiveness that really stood out, while it was actually quite forgiving. But it's slightly lower in loft, it's 14 degrees, and it was surprisingly straight. So I don't know if it's this Honma Vizard shaft here, it's only a stiff flex, but it's felt a bit soft, and for some reason I was able to time it really well and definitely produced the straightest shots with this club. So definitely one to consider if you're looking to find a few more fairways. It wasn't overly long, but it was very easy to control. But for me, the best of everything in terms of a fairway wood that was forgiving but not especially chunky or large, it would be the Ping G425 Max. This club was incredibly forgiving on those off-centre hits, very consistent, and really performed testing here on the deck from shots really low on the face. Even though the face isn't overly tall, shots low on the face really kind of had quite a high, surprisingly high launch. The ball flight was very consistent regardless of how high or low I hit the club on the face. And heel and toe shots, the ball flight stayed very straight. It was difficult to curve shots when I wanted to, but if you're looking for a consistently straight ball flight, unquestionably the Ping G425 Max was the standout winner. So in terms of versatility, I'm really looking at the club's ability to achieve a clean strike from different lies around the golf course, but also how adaptable it is to the conditions in the golf course you're playing. You want a fairway wood to be tailored to your needs, and if you can find one that can extract the ball from slightly iffy lies really well, that's going to be a real asset in your bag. And there are a few models that stood out. The general theme from my testing here, from questionable lies in the semi-rough and the rough, was that those slightly larger models, while they're very forgiving, they don't quite pop the ball up as easily as those more slimline models with those slightly shallower faces. So definitely a shallower, smaller fairway wood is a bit easier, I think, to use out of the rough, but there were some exceptions to the rule. So notably the Ping G425 Max, it's very forgiving, but you'll notice it does have quite a shallow, almost rectangular face shape to it, and because it's quite hot low on the face, it performed really well from the rough, and it's got a really long flat sole to it which sits really flush to the ground. So even if the ball's sitting down slightly in the fairway, you can get the ball up really easily with this club. The Mizuno, again, a slight exception to the rule in that it's a bit larger and it's got that wave sole, so it's not a completely flat sole, but I found like it really, for some reason, performed exceptionally well out of the rough for me, and it does have an adjustable hosel so you can fine tune the flight if you want to. In fact, all these models that I've chosen do have adjustable hosels, and I think there's definitely something to consider with a fairwood, because it can therefore be tuned to different courses. If you want to achieve different ball flights, you're able to do that with these clubs. Titleist models, again, they're slightly smaller than they were previously, and the TSI2 especially I found to be really easy to hit out of the rough. But there was a standout winner for versatility, and it was this Cobra Radspeed model. So it's adjustable for loft, and it's the only one on test that has these rails. It's got these baffler rails on the sole, and while they're quite shallow, they're quite subtle. If you look at the face, you can see here how they do protrude from the sole, and they definitely help just cut through the ground a little bit easier and just pop the ball out a little bit higher. So when the ball was sitting down slightly, I felt like this got through the ground really easily, and if you do catch the ground slightly heavy with this club, you get away with it a lot more than you do most of the other clubs on test. So when you factor all those different things in, there's no question that this model was the most versatile on test. I could hit different shots with it, and there are 4 different versions of this club available to buy. So there's a draw version, there's a tour version which is slightly smaller, and there's a big tour which is a slightly larger, lower spinning option if you want to use your fairwood a bit more off the tee. So in terms of a range, the Radspeed is unquestionably the most versatile, but this model in particular really stood out. So in terms of value for money, value for some golfers will mean different things to others, but a good starting point I think would be to flash up a picture of all the fairwoods on the screen now with all the different RRPs, so you can see what each of them cost. And you notice the prices do vary quite significantly, from £179 in the Wilson Staff D9 all the way up to £369 for various models on test. So yeah, that is quite a big difference, and considering the minimal differences in performance that I experienced testing these clubs on the launch monitor and here on the golf course. But yeah, there are 3 models that kind of stand out in that value bracket, given the performances were so similar and given that they are quite significantly cheaper than the others. So the Wilson Staff D9, as I mentioned, £179, the Cobra Radspeed at £229, and the Srixon ZX fairwood at £249. These 3 offer unquestionably, I think, their best value for money on test. The Srixon feels absolutely fantastic up the middle, and it was the second longest fairwood, or joint second longest on test. So that's really impressive. It's not got adjustability on it, but it's very versatile and very easy to hit, surprisingly forgiving and very long. The Wilson Staff D9, while it was a bit spinny for me, it's very well made. It feels really solid. It's got a Tensei shaft in it, which is the same shaft as the TaylorMade offerings this year. So clearly the components are good. You can spec it slightly differently as well. But I think the high spin would be a bit concerned for faster swingers, but if you're a mid to slow swinger, I think that extra spin might actually help you out in terms of increasing your carry distance and maybe your accuracy as well. So definitely not one to discount. But I think there is one standout winner in the value category, and it is the Cobra Radspeed. Yeah, this comes in at £229, so significantly cheaper than those premium models, and this was the longest average club on test. So you can't really argue for pound in terms of value for money. Conversion into distance, the Radspeed is the standout winner, and it's probably one of the most versatile clubs you'll buy as well. So definitely the best all-rounder in terms of value for money. Okay, so we've reached the final verdict. We're going to crown the winner of the Golf Monthly 2021 Fairway Wood Test. But before I do that, there are 5 runners-up finishes that I want to award in addition to the winner, because the performance across the board was really high, really competitive this year. And I think any of these models would do a really good job in your bag. So it's definitely worth recognising the depth and breadth on offer on the market this year. So the Ping G425 LST, the Callaway Epic Max, the Srixon ZX, the Titleist TSI2, and the TaylorMade Sim 2Ti are my 5 runners-up. And yeah, those were really impressive models. Don't get me wrong, they would definitely do a good job in my bag as well as your bag. Really versatile, very long, very forgiving. But the standout winner for me, probably won't come as too much of a shock given it's won a couple of categories already, is the Cobra Radspeed. This model is definitely the best all-round package in terms of what it offers in terms of performance, versatility and value for money. Yeah, we talked about an awful lot of things that we like about this club, how versatile it is with those sole rails, the adjustability that allows you to fine-tune it to different ball flights and suit different courses and conditions, the fact that it had the longest average carry distance, The fact that it comes in at a very, very competitive price of £229. And the other one thing we haven't mentioned with this club is that you have Cobra Connect, so Arcos shot tracking built into the grip, which allows you to monitor performance and see where your strengths and weaknesses with this club lie. I think you'll be very, very impressed with the consistency of this club, how good it feels, how it performs from different lies around the course. And I think it could become a real asset in your bag. And definitely, if you're looking for the best of the best, for me, it's the Cobra Radspeed Fairway Wood. So I've really enjoyed conducting this test, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it as well and found it useful in terms of informing your next purchase in terms of a fairway wood, and hopefully it's going to steer you into the best model for your game. If you did like it, make sure you click that like button and do subscribe to the Golf Panther YouTube channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of our equipment videos. But that's all from me from Burghley Park Golf Club. I'll see you next time.